Hey guys, and welcome back to her Gypsy Soul podcast, The Stories That Bind Us. It's January 1st, 2021. What an amazing way to start off the year with a new podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I know there's a lot of things you could be listening to, you could be watching. There's always something happening, especially now that we are all basically living online. So I appreciate your time, and please subscribe to the podcast if you enjoy this, and also share it. It's greatly appreciated. If you would like to be on my podcast, you can always hit me up, jacquelinevanbierk@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook, Instagram, all social media outlets pretty much. I just wanted to say, 2020 has been definitely a very challenging year for most of us. And speaking for myself, and I know many others, there was a lot of loss, there was a lot of grief, and there was a lot of anger and distress and just chaos. But remember that hopefully we learned a lot from that, and we can carry that valuable lesson into the new year. And I think it was also an amazing year to just like reevaluate where we are in life and who we are and what our priorities are and our goals are and what we want to do in our life. I truly believe that all this slowdown has really had to happen for us, not just for the earth to get a break from us, but also for us to get a break from ourselves, from our being on a treadmill 24/7 and just doing the crazy hustle. I also want to acknowledge that besides the pandemic, there's other things that we really need to pay attention to, which is mental health. There's been a lot of suicides, there's been a lot of drug overdoses, there's been a lot of domestic violence happening. So we all have to be a bit more aware and active and do our part as much as we can, whether that's volunteering, donating, bringing awareness to those horrible things that are just our reality. Anyways, I wish you all such an amazing, successful, prosperous, healthy, happy, and fun-abundant 2021. Let's make this an amazing year. Let's just turn it all around and just really focus on our inner growth, on our passions, our dreams, and our communities to really come together, because together we are strong. With no further ado, I am so excited to have the first of the year, one of my favorite people on this podcast. His name is Frank Rogala. He is a music producer, he's a screenwriter, he has a campground, he owns a campground, he does so many things. He's a healer, he's overcome so many things, and he's one of my best friends. I love him and appreciate him so much. He's just such a wise person and such a grounded person, and such an amazing spirit to be around. So with no further ado, here's my friend, the amazing Frank Rogala. One of my favorite people. Frank, how are you?
Wonderful. It's so great to see you.
Good seeing you. And what an amazing way to start the new year. I couldn't think of a cooler, better person to have a conversation with, because I love you so much. Honestly, just before we started talking, and I was getting ready, I started bawling. I started crying because I'm so grateful for everything this year. And that includes spending time at the campground with you guys and in Michigan. And it was just so freaking gorgeous. You are just such a beautiful, amazing person. You're so talented. You're a music producer. You're a healer, a self-healer. And you're just so connected to everything. I feel you're so tuned in, and you're an amazing person. And I want to talk to you and have you share your story, like how you actually healed yourself from being not able to walk, not being able to do anything really, and people even told you that you're probably not gonna survive. And how you managed that and how you got back into music, because you've experienced fame, you had a great band and you had a record deal, and man, you've gone through a lot of shit, and you rising back up like stronger probably than ever, right? Like you just still doing all your things. And I feel very grateful and lucky to work with you and to be your friend. And I don't even really know how we met. I think through Taxi a long time ago. But yeah, you're just such a special person to me. So I'm
Well,
giving it to you.
thank you. And it's like so awesome to look up and see you, because I had you, like, you wouldn't think that when you live in a 300 square foot cabin, that having somebody else come and visit would be like a pleasant, but you're just like a light when you would come in. And I just, it's like this energy is like missing. But I looked out the cabin you were in, and I kind of just like feel you there still. It's kind of, that's going to probably always be Jacqueline's cabin,
I love it.
In fact, in the house we just moved into, I look out the window and it's like kind of there. It's kind of scenic, and to be able to look out there, and it just kind of warms my heart a little bit right there.
Trust me, my spirit is still there. I mean, this is like one of the most amazing years of my life, I would say, being able to spend time there, because you've talked about Mackinaw and you've talked about, the Great Lakes. And I mean, it looked great. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. But actually being there, it changed my life. I mean, it's just, what an amazing, magical place. And of course, being with you guys is I'm sure added a lot of magic to it.
Well, yeah, I was just writing my annual letter today, because I kind of do it at the end of the year, and I was just talking about how this has always been an area people would come to heal. And there's the trees give off negative ions, the water, moving water, the air, all of that comes together here. And it was amazing. We had literally tens of thousands of people came last summer, and we did all the things you're supposed to do. But I mean, we had no outbreaks, no big things, no problems. I swear to God, it's just like that old wisdom of fresh air and being outside. And, I was just reading that, like in New York, you probably have experienced this. There are radiators, and when they go on, it will cook you out of an apartment in New York. And they were designed after the last pandemic, and they never changed the specs. And what it is supposed to be is that it's supposed to overheat the apartment. You're supposed to have your window open in the winter because of the health.
Yes.
And it's something that, that's one thing that with everything going on, it dawned on me that I have seen just nothing, no energy to look into things that are working already that we have. And it's not, we could have an amazing new vaccine that might cure cancer, but there's also hundreds of thousands of things out there that we're already using. And there's really smart people, and there was just no effort to support people that were doing that kind of research. And when people found things, it was almost like they had to fight uphill or become deplatformed to even talk about it. It's a strange, strange thing.
It's been crazy how many people have been censored just for speaking, like having an alternative view. If you go to a doctor, and they tell you have cancer, like, of course, would you get just like not a second opinion? Of course you would. You would go to someone else and just like see what they have to say. And we live in this time that's kind of pretty fucked up, where it's like, this is the only truth, and that's the only way. There's only one doctor who can tell you what's right. And it's just crazy. It's really crazy.
Is it that all these things have to come through this funnel,
Yeah.
and only things are being let through,
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about what you experienced, a few years back when you were like bedridden. Like, I mean, when I met you, I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, you're always on the go. I don't even know where you get all your energy from. You're like always up working, and you do intermittent fasting. And it's just really fascinating to me, like how you recovered from something so.
Yeah,
already.
I really feel for people that have these types of, it includes like autoimmune things. There's a whole ball of wax like fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and blah, 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 blah. What happened was, like you said, I go to the gym, I'd work my job, I would be in Hollywood working on something till midnight. Then I would get up the next morning and go to Newport Beach to a day job. Then I would go to, and all of a sudden I was in a bed and I could not get up anymore. And I would go to the doctor. They would give me every test. They go, well, all seems fine. Maybe it's all in your head. Maybe you need a psychiatrist. Or I'm like, I am not a lazy person, you know. And so finally I thought, I'm a search engine optimization specialist. So I'm going to sit down. I just sat at the computer, just start putting in everything that I felt and research. And this doctor came up that was in Beverly Hills, but it really was Beverly Hills, Michigan. It was Beverly Hills, California. So I would call and they were never, I think, why are they never open during business hours? To hear it was the wrong time zone.
Oh.
And when I finally got down to see him, he's passed away now. And I feel for people because he was one of those lone voices in the wilderness. He would use medicines that were off label that helped, but he had to fight it and he had to be very careful in order to do this. But what I learned from him was that, you know, he was treating symptoms and I was getting things, what it came down to was like every single thing that they had determined caused these things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, a bunch of these things, they came down to like infections of Epstein-Barr, which was very controversial, but now it's getting to be mainstream. Cytomeglia, which is something a child can get and get over with really quickly, but my immune system wasn't handling it. HH6, which is, it's a herpes, but it's not like the herpes you get on your private parts. It's kind of, it's something that children give to each other. It's a human, HH6 is a human is in the name of it, I think. And anyway, it would feel like grains of sand were going through my veins and I was just exhausted. Getting out of bed was an effort. And the worst thing is everything I do depends on my brain and my brain did not work. And it was just like thick cobwebs, fuzziness. And I might get a couple of hours a day when I could kind of get things done, but I was so behind on everything. It was, it created incredible anxiety. So to eat and you're tired, but you can't rest and you can't sleep and everything hurts. So what happened was after a period of time, I'd gotten the medicines from Dr. Lerner and you had to take, you know, really strong pills every couple of hours. You had to have a lot of water. If you didn't, you would poison your organs. If you had the water, you'd be fine. So all my numbers came back and I was free of all of these infections. I still felt really bad. And I was watching a podcast by Dave. He has the Bulletproof Coffee guy and he has kind of orange glasses on. And actually these are not my proper colors. These are my current ones. He explained, somebody asked about his glasses and he said, I don't really like to talk about them because this isn't a thing that I do, but he said it's an energy thing. He said, if I don't have these on, I lose a lot of energy. And he started talking about it. I thought, am I a hypochondriac or does that sound like me? And come to find out there was the woman that discovered this, her worldwide headquarters, like if you went out on my driveway and went 10 minutes that way was her office. And I made an appointment, I went to see her and I sat down and she came in the room and it was kind of a dark room and she's just talking to me and I'm thinking, okay, it's a screening. It was supposed to be a screening. And she's turning the light on, she's talking, and then she turns the light off and then she goes over and she opens the window and she's talking to me a little more and she closes and then 10 minutes later she says, okay. I said, okay, we're going to start now. She goes, no, we're done. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, I rate people on a scale of 1 to 10 for seriousness. She goes, you're a 13. She said, if you had not come here, she goes, I don't think you would live 3 more years. And then she showed me charts. They do brain scans on people that have this condition where without glasses, and these are just basically a color, it's a color, brain is completely lit up. And your brain will rob every bit of energy from your body. It will kill you. Your brain will kill you to process. That's the way we're created. And my brain was having to work so hard to do simple things like see depth, to be able to read. And they would bring up boxes of colors, these little circle things, and it'd be a yellow and a yellow. And this yellow looked just like this yellow. And you go like this, you go on to nothing. And then this other yellow, which was slightly, you couldn't even tell the difference. I go, oh, that helps. And anything that kind of helped, they had some things to read, they would clamp them together, and they had these big Frankenstein kind of, steampunk kind of things. And I had like 15 different colors out here. I was like, wow. And suddenly I was seeing depth, I was seeing clarity, and I didn't realize that when people read, they didn't see rivers around it's kind of, when you read, it's like dyslexia, but it's worse than dyslexia because, well, at least there's different versions of this. 50% of all people have some of this. You can develop this from a car crash, a bomb blast. If you're a veteran, if you've been in a bomb blast, you can get it. It's extremely dangerous to get it spontaneously like that, because suddenly you don't have depth perception. You could fall downstairs, you could drive into a truck and not know it. And
oh my God, that's scary.
So you go to a doctor and they give them pharmaceuticals because they don't really, this is not accepted by Western medicine, but it saved my life. It was so powerful that it basically, gave me the last portion of my life back. And it's just colored glass. And the more that I learn about it, the more infuriated I get, because like there's places like, you can't go to Florida and be screened for this. They've made it illegal because their system, the optometrist didn't want people messing with glasses. They had a law made to not allow anybody to screen. So if you're a veteran in Florida, you're kind of just out of luck.
What? Wow.
It's like politics, money, medicine, pharmaceuticals, we have a very, very, very corrupt system. So in order to navigate, if things are not working for you, you can't always listen to the people that are in charge, because they may be good-hearted people who want to help you, but they haven't been given the information, So I had to take it out of myself. So I was just kind of getting back on my feet, and I went to get out of bed one day, and also my knees gave out. And I was a performer on stage. I jumped around, I danced, I never had any weakness in my legs. And then within a few months, I was on a cane, and let's go to the doctor and then to the neurologist, and they're going, finally, then the idea that it might be Lyme's disease came up, and I was tested. And what they don't tell you is that, and a lot of doctors aren't taught this, is that the test for Lyme disease can only catch the infection at a certain point of the it's a live organism. It's a parasite that gets in your body, and at a certain point in its development, it could be picked up. But if it's ahead of it or behind it, it doesn't show up. And so my doctor's like, oh, well, you don't have it. I'm like, well, then why can't I walk? So I went to a naturopath. People that use, and at this point, Jacqueline's been introduced to Bridget,
I love her. Oh my God, yes.
Yes, she's brilliant. She's got a story like this herself.
Yes.
Doing that. And in fact, we have to be very careful and protect people like her, because
we do.
Mainstream is after them. And
yes.
They would like to stomp them out and sell us their expensive pharmaceuticals and make us broke and make us all slaves to being addicted to their medicines,
Absolutely.
So she looked at me, she said, oh, her tests, the way she does things, and I don't know why Western medical science could do it. She could see it. She could see the type of it. She gave me things that have been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years, that come from plants and bark and trees and stuff. And then the bad thing about Lyme disease is, if you're using conventional medicine, you go to a hospital that puts you on an IV of really strong antibiotics, and what'll happen is it'll kill them off. You'll feel okay, but they'll retract into spirochetes, these hard little shell things, which will embed themselves in your muscles and your joints, and it's very painful. And supposedly you can never get rid of them. But in my case, I was able to, again, get on the internet, look around, and find a technology called a zapper, which I introduced you to.
Oh God, I love the zapper.
I mean, you can use it for all the kinds of things that, if you go to a doctor and you've got an infection, an antibiotic is going to help with that, but it's also going to kill off a large amount of the probiotic living things in your body that you need to live.
Yeah, antibiotics can actually cause cancer. Like, they're really not healthy for us.
So these these bad things take over when those aren't there protecting us.
Yeah.
And so these zapper devices, they run off of just a battery, and anything like an infection. The thing about Lyme that's so evil is that as you kill it off, you have to kill it really slowly, because as you kill them, they release a neurotoxin that will just kill, just destroys your nerves. And so you have to kill them really slow, little bit at a time. And at this point, I'm testing completely free of that. And it had nothing to do with doctors. I have friends in the medical profession. I have very good friends, and they work really hard, and they're very, honest people, but they're just not taught this stuff.
That's what I'm starting to realize. I think that, when conventional doctors, and I mean, they have that place. There is a place for it where maybe you need a surgery or whatever. Like it's not saying it's totally dismissing it, but I'm noticing when people say that, like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's just what they taught. They are so in their field that they think they know it all, that they don't even want to step outside and think, well, our bodies are naturally meant to heal themselves, right? Like that's why we do intermittent fasting, because when you give your body actually a chance to like restore itself, and to do what it's naturally supposed to be doing, then everything is easier, or like at least finding a combination of conventional medicine or like Western. And I don't even take Tylenol or whatever. Yeah, I don't, because I like to feel my pain, because then I know, all right, something is not right, and then I can try to get to the root of it, versus just like if I just cover it up, right? Like, what's that going to solve long term?
Yeah, pain. That's a really good subject too, because I mean, your brain is getting literally tens of thousands, if not millions, of signals from all over your body, and so all of a sudden your knee is hurting you, your back is hurting you. There might be something there, probably is something there, but why is that overriding everything else? And a lot of times, it comes down to, there's a part of your brain that's like a reptile, and it doesn't reason in the same way as the rest of it. So it says, oh, you don't want to go to this meeting, so okay, I'm going to give you pain in your back, and then you're going to have an excuse not to go. It can be as simple as that.
Yes.
Why am I here hurting? So why can't I get up? The body and our mind is like so incredibly powerful, and I think that there's so much lost knowledge. I think we've had it, and then our elites and our big systems are just like using us. They don't really care. I mean, speaking of somebody from Michigan, I learned really young when I saw, we signed these trade agreements, and all of a sudden just like everything got vacuumed out of our state. And, we spent years getting environmental protection laws, and then all of a sudden we're having all of our things made in a place where there's none. And so, okay, what did we accomplish by that? And then all of our workers are out of work, and we got slaves making our stuff. So but the people that have the capital are very happy, and there was no effort to do anything they just pretty much just vacuumed everything out of the Midwest, Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and these are incredible places. I mean, as you know, some of the most beautiful places on earth. And I don't know that I've heard Bill Clinton talk about it as it's like a progression of humanity, and it's going to be rough at first, but then we're going to even it out, and then we're going to raise the level of everybody. And it's like, okay, you've got huge, massive governments that now we've armed them with all of our technology, and I have. Anybody who has to do anything with manufacturing nowadays has to have a lot of contact with China. I mean, even to get rugs for the campground here, I had to negotiate with them. And there's like, we are raised, and you're raised in a different culture than I was, but we're raised with, honesty, integrity, hard work, the customer's right, whatever. There's just none of that from the Chinese culture. It's like,
it's robots, little robot nations.
Well, the best story, and I think I've told you this, is that the book, I think the gentleman is a Bassett from the Bassett furniture family, and the family had several branches, and they made bedroom furniture in this part of the family. Anyway, after NAFTA went through, all of these furniture plants that started on the East Coast, some of them are hundreds of years old, were just dying. And he was kind of the rebel, the black sheep of the family. And he, in the 80s, this lacquered furniture where you had really heavily shiny black furniture was the thing. And he had spent a lot of money putting in the ventilation systems and the spraying things to keep his workers safe and to be able to make it. And all of a sudden, the stuff is just dumping on the market because how can they possibly do it for this price? And so he finally just went to China, tracked down where it was being made. And when he got to the building, he looked at it and he said, this can't be it. There's no windows. And he went up to the door and looked in, and sure enough, they were in there spraying it, and everybody in there spraying it, no equipment on. He had a translator with him. He's talking to the foreman. He said, how can this be? They're going to get sick. He goes, 2 years, they die, more come. How can you compete with a system that has no respect for life? And they don't have for human life, animal life, and the environment, the earth itself. And I know it's just kind of madness to me what's happened. I just feel like our elites have been corrupted in order to allow us to kind of let this godless nation with no morality steal all of our technology. And now, and okay, I'm a screenwriter too. So I win awards and I go to award ceremonies, and invariably, probably almost every one of the last film festivals I've been to, there's a billionaire from China who gets introduced, and he's funding it. And these guys are behind that. You could not get a script made with a Chinese villain in it, because I have one, and it's a true story. It's kind of like they were bringing over Chinese slaves and putting them in group homes to take care of the developmentally disabled adults, and undercutting and underbidding and getting contracts. And then they would just drug all of the inhabitants, so they wouldn't, because they had no training, they couldn't speak English, they couldn't deal with them, so they would just drug them all. And so I have a screenplay called "There's No Place Like a Home," and it will never get made unless if I change it to a Russian villain, but you know me, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Shit, man. It's just really, now that we've entering the Aquarian age, where it's like more about the truth coming out, and I think there's like a lot of people are waking slowly up, I think, to the reality that we cannot trust government in general, and also that China is not good. It's simply put like that. I mean, I could elaborate, but like it's just really dangerous to think that they have.
Every day that we are not at war with China and Yellowstone doesn't blow is a good day. So,
exactly, right?
Great.
So it becomes it's just fucking insane, what's going on with like being so censored and so controlled. And I was just listening to a podcast earlier, like I'm into Kundalini yoga and Guru Jagat, like Rama TV. They had like this great reality riffing about how people are, how we're being now controlled, but we are slowly waking up and like realizing, no, fuck you, like you can't tell me what I'm thinking or speaking my truth. It's just really insane. And the guy said that, people who grew up in communist countries know about this. And I grew up in a communist country, and I keep telling this to people, and they still think that it's a good thing to think that, oh, we're all one, we're all in this together, and we're all the same. This is not good, if we are not
I don't know what happened
honoring our uniqueness.
When I grew up, I learned about a lot of the downfalls of the communist system. It wasn't just real. I mean, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But I mean, I learned the problems that it causes, and plus, I have to administer a lot of businesses and people, and I know what motivates people and what doesn't motivate people. and I know what makes people happy and what doesn't make people happy, and handing things to people. And I've learned this too because I'm kind of a generous person, and I will give things. And I just noticed when there's many people do not appreciate it if they get given something, you know.
They feel entitled. If you give to people, if people don't have to work, they start becoming lazy. And they also start just like, I mean, and content, I think, because that's what happened in East Germany, right? Because people were all the same. So you would bust ass if you were like not a privately owned business person. You would work over there and bust your ass, and the other person is just sitting on their ass and getting paid the same. At some point you say, why am I busting ass? Like, I get paid the same as this guy, so fuck it, I'm just gonna not give a shit either. And that's what's going to happen. And then everybody also, I think the more you've been given from the government, the more you rely on them, and the more you realize, oh, everything is good, yeah. And so the slow conditioning with the masks, with like the censoring, people just start believing whatever they're being told and just obeying, like, don't go visit friends, right? Don't go outside, like, and people just follow all these orders, which is like insane to me. It's like, be very careful, because it's like dangerous. You're just like obeying. It's just crazy to not even think like, wait, who are you to tell me I can't do that? Because I may never see my mom again, right? If I don't visit her, or my grandmother, or whatever. I don't know. It's just like, we can still be cautious and safe, but at the same time not fall into this trap of just being little robots, slaves, just like, yes, whatever you say, because that's exactly how it was in East Germany.
You're gonna get deplatformed, young lady. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I am not like a person that wants to run around without a mask and not be careful. And because I have friends that are in healthcare, and one, she administers nurses in New York and LA and goes back and forth, right? And now LA she goes, our morgue is full. She goes, and we're bringing in refrigerator trucks. She goes, I go to New York, they've got it down. It's like, I could take a nap. She goes, there's nothing going on. And so, I know that this virus is serious and it is contagious and everything else. But that said, there are things that it's crazy to tell people that everybody has to stay indoors, especially depending on how your ventilation systems or whatever are. And we have this old knowledge from the last pandemic that they would put people outside, sit people outside, and being outside was known to be healthy. Having your windows open was known to be healthy.
Yes.
And we are just kind of so opposite that. And we're not looking back at the lessons we've learned. Yeah, we can have breakthroughs, do new things, but there's still a lot of knowledge there that
Right.
we're good
I'm
at
just
that.
talking, yeah, I'm just saying, like, when I talk about masks, it's like if I go out, and LA, I think that the media makes it sound way worse than it is, because I'm going out hiking all the time, and you live in LA most of the half of the year usually. So we go out hiking, and if I go hiking, I'm by myself with my dog, so I don't wear a mask because I need to breathe in fresh air. But it's so funny, like, I'm not putting anyone in danger, right? I'm way further away from them than 6 feet. And but people, the minute they see me, they just like start like, oh, it's like, dude, I'm not even remotely close to you. Like, there's nothing you have to worry about. But people have become so scared. I'm just saying it's a very dangerous thing, because fear is also a pandemic. Fear is a virus, and not even to talk about the lockdowns in LA, because restaurants spend so much time and money, and resources, I guess, to create a safe space for people to go and eat, right? So they have like the plastic screens, they have like the outside dining with like enough space in between the parties that would come and eat. So that's all shut down, right? But the clothing stores are fucking open, where everybody touches fucking everything. What I'm saying? How is that safer? And then I went to Marshall and I was going to get something, and I saw the large line. I was like, I don't want to be in line, because nobody really keeps the distance, right? So I was like, I don't want to stand in line. So I left my card. I'm like, I'll leave. I don't want to be that close to people. But that would not even happen in a restaurant. I think it's so much more dangerous, and nothing has changed, because if we still have that outbreak and it's still so bad, then obviously those fucking lockdowns are not working. If because now people just get together in the houses. Because you can't, as much as they try to separate us and isolate us, we are social humans, you know, we are social beings, and we are not going to just obey like all of us, you know. So I think it's just, not to talk about even suicides or alcoholism, domestic violence, all that shit that nobody talks about because everybody focuses on just one thing, COVID, which is like it has a pretty high survival rate, you know. But suicide is on the high rise more than ever because people are just, I mean, most of us are alone on New Year's Eve, you know, and for some, I mean, I'm like, whatever, you know, I'll just meditate and I'll just do my goals, whatever. I have plenty of shit to do. And so do you. And I think you go to see some friends, and which is awesome. If I had, you know, the opportunity, I would do it too. But I think, God, these things are just as bad, if not worse, than the actual virus. You know, it's just a very, I don't know, it's just not right. I think this is more damage than any good, you know, in my opinion.
Just have to say right here, like everybody watching this, you just have to understand that this is Jacqueline. This is how she is all the time. She is like positive, this energy and this attitude. It's just, it's just, I don't know. One of the greatest joys of my life is getting to know you. So
I love you. I love you.
But, okay, so my Aunt Tilly calls me a couple times a week. You know, she's
Okay, Anjali.
and I can hear it. She's like, she's so isolated and she's slipping because she doesn't have that social contact, you know.
Yes.
And it's such a huge price to pay. Now, I try to think of what positive could come from this, you know. Now, I understand that this mRNA vaccine, that there's getting to be a half dozen of them now, and not all of them use this technology. And it's using this kind of genetic thing that could possibly cure cancer and all kinds of things. It could do personalized kind of, it may have just brought us 10 years faster down the road towards curing all illnesses. But I'm too suspicious of big pharma, you know, to think it could be true. Now, also, it goes after these spiky protein on these viruses. That's the coronavirus. That's the common cold as well. Will this vaccine actually maybe cure the common cold as a side effect because it's going after spiky viruses, you know? Also, though, it's the first time we've played with genetics because, you know, RNA is part DNA. If I was a woman in my child productive, you know, years where I could have a baby, I don't know that I would want. Now, there's other vaccines like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, I think, doesn't use that technology. I probably would go with that. But I have a niece who's like in healthcare, and the first vaccine off the block is Pfizer, and I know she's going to get really heavy pressure to take it. And you don't want to be looked at as like a troublemaker. You're working your whole year. You've got a job. You've got a career. It's, you know, there's so many people making really hard choices. So many people losing everything. You know, I feel really lucky. You witnessed the summer, like people coming to this campground and just so thrilled to be able to be out in the sunshine, you know?
It warmed my heart. It warmed my heart. Seeing kids playing, families being together, just out in nature. Oh my God. That was just, whenever I look at the pictures of the time I spent with you guys, I start crying because it's been such a delight. It's been so nurturing for my soul that I didn't even give a fuck about my business, my career, because I was like, this is the important thing right now, taking care of us, taking care of our inner strengths, because we need this right now. The times are so hard and crazy that we need to adapt, and it starts from within. I'm sorry to interrupt you. So
No, it's fine. I'm just flashing back to last summer.
Yeah.
Or just, well, I'm thinking like, gosh, I wish my cab could be warm so Jacqueline could stay here because the winter's been beautiful too. You know? Yeah. So, but okay. One thing you had mentioned when we talked about doing this was you brought up the, you know, okay, a lot of people watching this have no idea who I am. So you can think I'm the strangest guy in the world, but I had the experience with my brother when we were, I was about 10, he was about 9. We were in the campground, it hadn't been developed yet. It was just woods, and up close, personal, no BS, UFO right there, as big as a football field right in front of us, brighter than the sun, but it didn't hurt your eyes. You could look at it, completely silent. And I was a child, but I knew that that did not belong there, and it didn't fit the technology. I knew better. And you know, as we're standing there looking at it, all of a sudden it was gone, but we didn't see it go anywhere. There was no air movement. And but all of a sudden we're just staring into space there. And there was a feeling like some time had gone by. And I, like, from that point on, if my school, the church, the government, anybody didn't tell me what the hell that was, I don't trust. Okay. And this is about I figured out the other day, it was about 1967, because I was 10 years born in 57. So from that time forward, you know, my antenna's been up about, like, what does that, one of my papers in college and my reports in journalism class was I did a whole study on what I projected would happen if society found out that there were life on other planets, you know, and I had all these scenarios. Well, it happened. I mean, the government came out, admitted it, and nobody even talks about it. Nobody's even paying attention, you know? I mean, the military has even said, we've covered crafts that are not of this world, you know? They've released the video finally. I mean, there's tons of it out there. And I can tell you, if you see a picture of a UFO, now I know there's varieties of them, but people are saying, oh, it's always blurry. You can't always see it. And I'm pretty positive I know why, because those things aren't using any kind of propulsion that we use. They're bending space-time. And when you bend space-time, you're not seeing it clearly if it's, you know, space-time is moving around it. That makes it not really very clear and blurry. And that's why they can, like, change. They're basically operating at a whole different level of physics than we are. And so when you even stop and contemplate what kind of technology and what kind of beings are out there and how it's kind of just been kind of covered up. And now they're starting to actually talk about it, because for a long time, this make everybody seem crazy, nuts, whatever. Then you got this guy, Robert Lazar, who came out and they just ruined his life, you know? And the dude, everything he said, coming down to even discovering an element that no one knew about. He talked about it 30 years ago. He described this element that was used to bend space-time in these crafts, and now the element has been discovered. So how did 30 years ago he describe this element perfectly that we now have? Along with everything else he described about the craft and what was being done, blah, blah. So what does that mean as far as what our government hasn't told us, what other governments haven't told us? Now, I have friends that work in places that tell me things that probably shouldn't know. And so I happen to know that this has been going on for a long time, and it's been going on. We're not the only ones with this technology. And it kind of worries me a little bit, you know, because I know governments that we've talked about that aren't necessarily friendly have got it too. I also wonder, like, what their agenda is. And plus, if they have this technology, they could wipe us out like an ant, you know? So, you know, what are we in the scheme of things? So, okay, so 2020 was the year that the government announced that aliens and UFOs are real, and nobody seemed to notice. What does that mean? You know, it means, well, I'll tell you, it means that, to me, if we had evolved like every other creature in the universe, just like a computer, you start with Windows, and you go Windows. Anyway, as you go through time, it gets viruses and there's malware, and you engineer around it. And finally, when you get to today, the computers are a little more robust. But if we hadn't gone through those things, if we just built a computer from scratch with technology we had today and didn't know about that, we'd be in trouble because it would be so vulnerable, right? So we as human beings, there's no evidence that we evolved the way that they think they do. There's a huge missing spot in the middle, and no one's ever been able to patch that. And there's all kinds of the only knowledge that was not destroyed that goes back to ancient times is from India. But we've also got the Sumerian things that talk about these beings that came down, tweaked to make us to serve them, and they made us really easy to handle and control.
Oh, yeah.
I see it today. I see the way that people can just be like, are fed by the AI that Facebook writes in, and they feed you more of what you want, and it's almost like, come to me, do what I say, think this thought, and
Yes.
and I noticed that in my own family, my brothers were all raised in the same environment, the same parents, and the difference is, I think we're programmed to come out, hardwired, and there's like forgive me because there's more than this, but I mean, like, let's just break it down, make it simple. We have the Democratic mind and we have the Republican mind, and one's not right and one's not wrong. Now, the Democratic mind might be, we want people to be, we want fair, we want women's rights, we want equality, we want, everything to be fair, blah, blah. They want to be nice people, right? And it ends up going over the edge now, and we're like,
And I failed at that.
and then on the other end, we got, basically it's like draconian, the only the strong survive. And, there definitely is a lot of middle ground that was much better for all of humanity. But what's happening is we're being pushed to this edge and we're being pushed to this edge, and there's just no way for us to come together because we're so far apart. Mm-hmm. And, and what's making it worse is we have people like, I think Zuckerberg knows better. I mean, the dude is responsible for genocide. If you go to countries like Indonesia, Facebook is your internet, because if you're poor and you can maybe buy a phone, you might not be able to pay for service, but Facebook is free. And if you have Facebook, you can call, you can video, you can communicate. So Facebook is your internet.
Brilliant.
If I say that those people over there that I don't like, that they killed a cow, and in my religion, that's sacrilege, and then everybody has to go over there and like kill them. I mean, this is what's been going on. And there was in this particular area, there was only 6 people in all of Facebook that spoke that language, and there was like something in the millions of people, that were affected by this. So we've got this, we've tweaked this algorithm to poke you and give you what you want, what's going to keep you on and keep you occupied and keep you looking at them, because they're winning as long as you're looking at them, and with no regard to humanity and what it's doing. And I keep waiting for everybody to kind of just like throw the phones down or get back to flip phones or whatever. But they've they got into their, they know how to mess with us.
Yes, I think that's why it's so important. And I'm guilty of it too, right? Like, especially with the new rules, like the Instagram rules, like the regulations, and so they own they can get into any devices near your phone. They can get to it, so they can track everything you do, you look at, your contacts. It's crazy, right? And we still are on it because we've become so addicted to all these platforms. And the easy thing for everyone to say is like, well, they're already tracking us, what's the big deal? But the big deal is, wow, I could be in my bathroom right now naked and somebody could just watch me, you know what I mean? And it is a big deal because it is really comes to the point where we have zero privacy and zero boundaries, right? Like, that's just like, and yet we're so fucking addicted to it because we've been programmed, right? We've been programmed to search for this little piece that makes us happy, makes us feel connected. And I think that's why it's important. You're right. I try to just throw my phone in a corner sometimes and say, okay, enough. Stop checking your fucking Instagram every 10 minutes, and go within, like meditate. Go out in nature and like really connect, go like you do it all the time, go barefoot, really ground yourself. That is so important. Drink your water, like nourish your body, and like stop searching from the outside world, because nothing can bring you that void, that nothing can fill that void from the outside. It's all from within. And I think that's something we all need to be aware of. Like you saying, the polarity, right? Like the left and the right, whereas we're just so distracted by the outside world and so turned on against one another that we have to realize they don't care about us. This is not about us. This is about them controlling us. As long as people are not together, we can easily be controlled, right? Because like, I'll point my finger to you and say, fuck you, you're wrong. And we have to see beyond that and realize, and I think we had that conversation once in the car what you were saying, like, you know, we have to look past that, because everybody has good intentions, I think. You know, if I'm hardcore Republican, I just really believe in that, and that's my belief, and there's nothing someone can change my mind, right? So, and the opposite, if someone is like really hard left, like they mean well, but we have to be careful, because we're destroying one another by being too overreactive.
We,
And
we need each other.
you know,
and that those strategies to separate us and make us be angry and fight with you are just distracting us from what's really going on.
exactly, that's very dangerous. You know, so this, oh my God, we could talk for like 10 hours. And we've had those long, awesome conversations. I want to talk a little bit about, because you're a screenwriter, you're also obviously a badass music producer. We've done some songs together. We've won quite a few like film festivals that we unfortunately couldn't attend. But tell us more about that, like that part, like what's going on in your studio, because you have your badass studio right there that I miss. What you've been up to, and what's going on, what's coming out in the new year for you. Like, actually, by the time this airs, it's going to be January 1st. So Smash Mop, the hub, Smash Mop music.
Yes, what's happened is you know, just to be fair to all the artists, we started about 2 years ago working more on vocal music and with artists that were, and it's been fantastic. We love it and it's great. But what's happened is I've had to like pause a minute and put together a team. And actually, just before this, I was working with Brandon, my assistant, my executive assistant, on helping me with some things, because we're doing so much badass music, but you've got to be able to get it out to the right people and get it places. And even the old school music guys that I know that were the big guys in the, you know, 80s, 90s, 2000s have no idea how to get attention nowadays and to get things heard. And so my assistant and I started with the internet in 1999, became search engine optimization specialist. And I said, you know, this whole streaming thing is, we just got to tweak the way we did that and do it here. And so that's kind of what we're in the, along with, because if you leave me alone in here, I will just for days, and you know, you can bring me food, you know, I'll pee in a bottle and just like never leave, you know, and I'll just keep going because I just love it, you know. But you know, I know to be fair to my artists, I can't just be making all these amazing songs that nobody hears.
Yeah.
And film and TV has been a way that a lot of us artists have been able to kind of keep in the game, but they keep finding ways to rob us, you know, with that as well. And so, you know, at some point, you know, I want to do a video about our goddess Oprah Winfrey and how she's really just destroyed a lot of the industry by devaluing what composers do. And what composers work their ass off, man. Yeah. And there's composers, all the composers I know are badass, you know. They work really hard and they love what they do. And you know, if they were paid if they worked in a burger joint for the hours they were paid, they would probably make more than they do if they added it up, because it's just a lot of work. And your stuff has to be as good as the best stuff out there to get attention. You can't slack at it. So one of the things that you know, along with, like, I know how to make a great music video, right?
Oh, yeah. Ooh la la la, ooh la la. You all have to check that one out.
We just got another gorgeous trophy. Like, okay, so Jacqueline and I did a music video together with Jason and I are Smash Mop, and it's kind of just blown up globally. Like we could have been to film festivals in Paris, in London, in Southern Europe, in the Ukraine, in
right? Like there was like a bunch, like
yeah, I mean all over the world, and I got you know, a cinematography nomination, cinematographer's award, and I shot it all on cell phones, so I was like really thrilled about that. The thing is that that's a whole ghetto too, because music videos now, you know, they're like, if you really want to get serious, it's like a film, and at the end of it, you want to give everybody credit. And freaking Apple, I mean, these big platforms are becoming our new dictators. And if I want to put credits on the end of my music video, I can't put it out through Apple. It's against their regulations.
It is?
No, yes. They make you remove the credits off of a music video. And it's like, okay, at the end of a film, sometimes a song comes on and it gives you a feeling, it kind of fulfills and gives you another feeling from the end, and then you're seeing the names, and it's a part of the experience. And that's something that's me, streaming is just devalue that. All of a sudden it goes over here and you have to click a button if you even want to see it, or it'll pop an ad on. And a lot of the new music I discover is on the end credits, because these music supervisors, I mean, the more I learn about music supervisors, the more I respect them. They're they define the right song. When they get the right song and the right scene, and it just makes it breathe and come alive. If you ever saw a rough cut of a movie and then saw the final cut, you go, God, this movie kind of, I don't know what are you gonna do with it? And then you see it with everything done, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
So, it's a devaluation for them as well. But I mean, for composers to have a whole song play at the end in the credits, that could pay your rent, So, and that's just going away too. And it seems like, the creatives, I mean, people have all been locked in, so they can, watch films and listen to music and whatever. But it's just crazy how what we do is just getting devalued. I kind of got off track about talking about.
I know, right? What's Smash Mouth up to?
Kvetching about the business.
I know, but it is frustrating. It is a little frustrating, but I think we just have to it's like anything else. Things always shift, so we have to just look at what's the next thing. I think music licensing is definitely the way to go. It's just a matter of getting the right placement that's gonna really have an impact. Like a big ad, or a big, like you said, end credit would be awesome. And I mean, let's see what even happens, since things are still kind of shut down, right? So there's not much production going on.
So have you noticed there's places that used to give me request things, sometimes twice a week, and I haven't heard anything from them in months.
No, I haven't really gotten many requests either. No, it's been kind of slow. Yeah.
There was a flurry of things that happened around a couple of months ago, just as you were leaving. I got about that time period, there were some things that happened, but then my neighbor in California, I'm in Michigan now, and I also have a studio in Anaheim, California. He is an art director and Emmy-winning guy, but his whole job now is dealing with COVID for productions. But COVID has added, I think, at least something like $1 million to, it might be more than that, to any production, because everybody on the crew has to be administered. He's personally in charge of several big movies, making sure everybody has their temperature taken every day. There's
that is just so crazy.
Separated, blah blah, and so that's become a whole little industry that's rolling along. I was going to come back in February and shoot another music video at the green screen there, and I'm just you get in northern Michigan and you kind of forget what's going on every place. So any production that's happening right now has to be, they have to have a lot of money because they're keeping everybody's gets there. I've got my friend edited Iron Man and Ant-Man and Alf, and he's really one of the top guys in Hollywood, and he's now in Australia right now working on actually, I don't know. It's always top secret. I don't find out till after what's going on. But these productions now have to be high enough dollar where they can afford this extra expense to administer all of this stuff. But some of them, they're going to New Zealand or Australia because they're done. They've no more. There's no more COVID. They've stopped. There's not a lockdown anymore. They're having concerts again.
That's crazy too, isn't it?
What's that?
That is so crazy too.
Yeah.
How's that suddenly done? I mean, that is just amazing to me.
Well, see, if we had had our normal CDC in operation when this started, we would have closed borders, closed airports, which would have seemed horrible, but not as horrible as what we ended up having, and we would have kept it up. That's what those countries did.
But then we do that. We did that. I think it's a problem that we have so many states, that it's really hard to control. So America is really big.
Well, there's a bunch of problems with that. I mean, we got had a president who finally talked about some things that needed to be talked about, but he's also got some really big personality flaws, like having to be right and having to. So I mean, if our leadership had been a little more strong on the top end of this, we could have done that. I mean, there are examples out there, but it is super difficult. It's a hard thing to deal with,
I mean,
So
Germany's all shut down too. My mom like told me like in our little town, actually we have like a lot of cases suddenly, and everything's shut down, like except food stores, So it's still like it's just a crazy ass time. Um, you know, 2021, Mackinaw, Millcreek Campground. How exciting! Are you excited? Like,
well,
hopefully,
I'm looking at like, okay, what's going to change? What's really going to happen before this next year?
yeah,
And we've got so many little businesses that just didn't make it. And I'm thinking, and nobody's really talked about, like, there's ways to show, I don't know. I just, my heart goes out to all these like little places that, because that's like the spirit of of the country. That's where everything great comes from, ideas, by these small businesses. We were so privileged and lucky to all suddenly, I mean, I spend so much time trying to make everything really great for our customers and the campers coming, and make sure that their reservations are processed in time, and they know what's happening, and they know what to expect, and they know what they're going to when they get here, and they know all the things there are to do. And we didn't catch up from last summer till like we were closed for a month. To even catch up, and
yeah,
um, it was completely different than a lot of people who have just like lost everything. And I the one thing I think that's amazing about this is that you could never have explained this to any of us, that any of this would happen, or that these conditions, or the way people would act, or what would happen. It's just kind of all amazing. This is all new stuff. This is something that we will sometimes it's a privilege to go through something this unique and horrible,
I
because
agree.
it shows us a side of humanity we wouldn't have seen otherwise,
Yeah,
that we were blind to, maybe.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you and your brothers own the campground, and you had the best year, right? In 2020. Like, didn't you say like it's
It
like
was
amazing?
it was amazing. I'm going to pay so many taxes this year. We're going to just pay for so many guns and arms and bombs. It's going to be great. Just give all
Yeah.
that.
And you guys still have room like for people that want to come to the campground in 2021, or
Um,
are you booked out?
yeah, yeah. I mean, always we're put we stopped building up because in last December I was putting my new music computer together, and I had to redesign it like every week. This part wouldn't come. This part wouldn't come. And this is in December. I'm going, what's going on? Everything I want is not available. And and then I started hearing some things about China, and I got home. My brother says something's going on in China. This is like in January. I said, I don't know what it is, but the way the economy is with the world, we're all teetering. I said, we got to be really careful. So we actually stopped. We had a bunch of sites that we've had permission to build for 10 years. We're finally getting them in. And I said, we got to just can't spend any money. I don't know what's going to happen. They could have had us close the whole
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
I'm old enough where my parents were in the Great Depression, and they always gave me warnings like, this is all great. This is nice now, but this can go away just like that. So you need to be ready, and you have to, and that still rings in my head,
yeah,
maybe my younger brothers. So and thank heavens they like listened to me, and we kind of stopped, but we could actually use those sites last summer. So we're finishing those. And so, and so we'll have some more new sites. And I really think I don't know what's going to happen with the vaccinations and this and that and everything, but we know how to operate safely. And so our staff is safe, and our customers are safe, and people can come here and enjoy themselves. And I'm just, I, as lucky as I feel, I also feel guilty for all the people that are just suffering. When you've got so many horrible things going on, and you feel like Jeff Bezos, all of a sudden you're like, really successful all of a sudden because of this horrible thing that happened, you know. I don't know. I always feel a responsibility to my fellow man, and you know, and it's been hard for me to learn that not every government official and everybody in charge and every elite feels the same way. I, you know, got to get past my blinders of thinking that everybody sees the world through my eyes, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of our strength as an individual level, is that if we can all remember that we're there to pick each other up and to help each other. And these stupid things we talk about and these ideas and stuff aren't that important in a day-to-day thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what 2020 really has taught me.
Absolutely. Yeah. When does the campground open?
Depends on Mother Nature. Sometimes she says we can open on May 1st, sometimes May 15th. When the snow melts, there's some water that they're under the roads, and it has to the roads have to harden up, because you can even walk on them and ruin them, you know, in the spring. And the lake seems we've had you were here during the highest lake levels I've seen in 63 years, and it started to go down a little bit, which is good, because it was getting to be a bit like a little scary. So, and
to me.
And now that there's snow on the ground, we've got these, you know, where we're at here with the new house, we kind of been clearing. So where your cabin is, you know, to get down to the lake, my brother's given me permission to kind of get those big piles of brush out of the way, so I might be able to see the lake.
Oh my God, yes, it's gonna be beautiful. Oh my God, yes. So I encourage everyone, like, if you don't know what to do this summer, like 2021, go to the Mackinaw Millcreek campground, and go to that campground, because there's some other ones, but they're not that good. And you also have a few hotels, right? Like, so that if you don't want to, but I mean, your campground, what I loved about the campground, and I have to say that because people might think campground means tent, right? You have like everything. You can get a cabin. I mean, you can camp in a tent. You can have your big motorhome there. You can have whatever size. That's what.
Lakefront houses too.
Yes. Oh, at the lake house, it was just like, so whatever you want, you offer it. Like, it's just like for any size, anybody, any budget. You know, that's what I really freaking loved about the campground too. That. And you could be like more in an area where like there's a lot of people, still social distancing, but like where it's a bit more busier, or you could be like totally where you almost feel like you're in the woods. I love that you have that. Oh my, and you have a golf course as well, so people can go and do the golf thing. And of course, you know, your studio. I mean, you like cranking out, like, it was funny, like when I was staying there, I'd like get up like whatever, like around 11, 12, and Frank is already like half his day is already like done in the studio, being like busy doing his thing with Jason usually. And then of course going on the boat. Oh, one of my favorite things to do. And oh my God, I can't wait to do that again. That was just like so amazing. And yeah, people can find your music, smashmobmusic.com, on Instagram.
Yeah, we got the URL, smashmob.com, and actually we have a trademark filed for Smash Mob. Looks like we may get Smash Mob as a trademark too, but just now smashmob.com works. So
yeah. And then any last advice for anyone, you know, because you're so, I mean, I'm pretty like, I would say I have a decent knowledge of like self healing and stuff like that. But I mean, every time I would have something, Frank, what would you do? You know, like, I love, like, you always have like this great advice. Any great advice? Because I think another thing, and maybe we'll finish it off like this, people just talk about the coronavirus and the vaccine and all that kind of shit, which is like, whatever, you know, do your thing. But nobody talks about immunity health, like immunity boosting technologies and strategies that you should apply regardless, you know, because again, our body heals itself, and like the more we can strengthen that stuff, the less prone we are to viruses and illness. I'm not saying that you can't get it, but I mean, maybe there's a better chance of you surviving this, you know?
Yeah, let me give you a couple. In fact, give me a second to grab something I'm going to show you.
Yeah. Frank is the best in that, because he does so much research, and I mean, he's got so much advice. And not just that, but you also have like, you went through this. Oh my God, what's that?
This is a negative ion generator. There's all kinds of them you can get. This basically does what the trees and the water and the environment here do. Put a lot of negative ions deactivate viruses. So this does a room about the size of the studio. Now the thing about it is, it's negative ions. So it's got a little bit of a charge. So if you want any electronics anywhere within 6 feet of it could give you like little sparks too. But it makes like something like crawled in the wall and then passed on. And with this running, I can't tell. But it also deodorizes things. There's a lot of things. This is one of the things you could do is in your environment, along with open a window up. The other thing is like, vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's a hormone, and we need it for all kinds of stuff. It helps with, everything from depression up to, healing. They've actually now admit that it helps people with vitamin D deficiencies get the coronavirus much worse than people that passed away had vitamin D deficiencies kind of in general. So it's very inexpensive. You can get them everywhere.
Yeah.
Chelated zinc, not zinc, chelated zinc, available everywhere. If anytime you hurt yourself, you need zinc to heal, and having a little bit in your diet is amazing for you. Vitamin C will just goes after and eats the viruses. You can get them in gummies. You can eat an orange. Make sure you've got all those things up, especially even in a regular flu season to have that. Just off the top of my head, that's kind of my top list of things right there.
Yeah.
Get out in the sunshine too. Get out in the fresh air if you can. And you interacting with animals. There's all kinds of evidence now of what that does for your system and your brain and your hormone levels and your.
I hear that, Baba. I think I have pants on.
So that's my short list right there. Well, and then and if you research stuff, there are sites called like Quack Watch and stuff. There are things that saved my life that are on Quack Watch. They act like are pseudoscience. So
Quack Watch?
Yeah, well, it was Quack something like that. My main point is, you cannot, the internet is not a source for true knowledge. You can find something that says this and something that says that. Yeah. So, it's having somebody that's actually been through it or tell you, or, get something, if it's not going to hurt you, try it. Yeah. That's how I got myself up and out of bed, was not by just listening to what, this one person with this one piece of paper said. Those pieces of paper happened after the Great Depression. They came up with this whole thing about certifying in Western medicine, which has been great for some things. But what they did is all these people with this knowledge that goes back thousands of years, they've kind of just ghetto and marginalized them and made them seem like kooky stuff, and that stuff healed us and kept us, alive and healthy for a lot of years.
Well, that's the funny thing. Like anything that's like not conventional, we're being labeled as conspiracy theorists or like just like kooky, crazy people that just like, when we all know that the best medicine is usually in your cabinet in the kitchen. Like there's a lot of stuff in there that is really powerful and potent that we kind of dismiss because we seem to just think that it has to be chemicals that heal us, and it's just not true.
It's some of the strongest poisons are right in the grocery store.
Yeah, exactly. Sugar. I will add one thing that I agree with everything, and you told me that, like chelated zinc, ever since I've been taking that as well. And I think also like really
chocolate. They've actually shown that chocolate helps with COVID.
Yes, dark chocolate, really dark chocolate, right? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, cocoa, or yes. Sorry.
Cocoa is really good for us. Bridget told me that. Bridget was like the naturopath. She said, chocolate, so she did all my charts, and then she's like, chocolate is good for you. And I'm like, thank you. After this, definitely working the lungs, like breath tech. I like the Wim Hof technique, deep breathing technique, and also the cold showers is really, really good for us. Like cold
shock and hot shock both.
Yeah.
both are extremely powerful. You can, and it's as simple, like you said, you go in the shower, turn it on cold, let that go through. You know, you can put it back up
Yes.
after you want to. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a treatment. That was an old treatment. They would put people in a bathtub full of ice cubes. You know, even
Yeah.
for mental disorders. And it's like now they're learning that it actually helped. You
Yeah.
know, they showed movies like this horrible thing, and it's like, come on, you know.
I forget what it's called. Therapy, whatever it's called. But they have it now here. Like I've seen this now.
Cryotherapy, yeah.
Cryotherapy. It's
Yeah.
it's becoming huge. Like where people go and it's supposed to like help you with like skin cancer stuff. And just kind of cold shock therapy. You know, like it's amazing. Like I never saw these little things before. Like it's a new thing, I think.
Yeah, I've got to get Don to help me finish the sauna out here, because sauna, that's another way of doing
I
it.
love the sauna. Yeah.
And then, you know, you can get the heat and then go out and roll in the snow, you know,
Yes.
forth.
We used to do that in Denmark. Yeah, we like on vacation we go like in a sauna and then like go out in the ice cold and like in the snow. It's fucking awesome and it's so healthy for us. It's really, really good for us.
Well, now it's proven to be healthy. You know,
Yeah.
like I said, that there's these proteins that happen, hot shock and cold shock, and they're both amazing for you. So in these kind of times, you know, huddling in a house and not getting exercise and not getting fresh air, horrible for us.
Horrible for you, yes. And also interact, even if you can. I think it's so dangerous because we need hugs. We need that connection. I have my dog, so like he gets a lot of hugs. Sometimes he's like, get away from me. He's like, I'm not a
Yes. Well, but they come up and they need their hugs too.
I
So.
know, but oh my God, I'm so grateful that I have my dog, you know. But I think it's also important to stay connected to people, even if it's like via Zoom. I mean, that's the one thing. It's like good and bad technology because it has a lot of good stuff. It connects us, right? We would not be able to talk right now, and at the same time, it's also we have to be careful to still keep that, you know, connection for sure, like in the real, you know, in-person connection because. I mean, we need it. We definitely need it. Oh my God. It's so awesome to talk to you as always. And I so look forward to doing more music together because, you know, I've been also a little bit on the slacking mode. But yeah, you're such a great person. And I'm so looking forward to 2021 seeing you again and spending quality time in Michigan.
Yeah, I catch up.
Up some magic with the whole crew over there. I have to say, people in Michigan, it's just amazing. I mean, the vibe, you know, at your campground, you guys, your friends, beyond grateful. I think that's my phrase for like 2020, beyond grateful. I know there's a lot of bad shit that happened and it's happening, but I'm beyond grateful that, you know, we have our health. We're able to have each other. And man, that's the greatest gift that no money can buy, you know?
You know, I mean, that's how much we can feel our gratitude so much stronger after seeing how bad things can get. And, you know, and we, you know, I don't want to jinx them, make them get worse, but I'm just saying that things happen that no one ever thought could happen. Now we can have even more gratitude at when things are okay and when they're good.
Oh, true.
That's probably a gift that, you know, is kind of overlooked, you know.
Absolutely. I agree. I so agree. Oh my God. Thank you so much for having this conversation. And I love you so much. A prosperous, happy, healthy, fun, joyful, whatever wishes you want to come true, make them come true 2021, you know, and to all of you out there, wishing you an amazing new year and just make the best out of the situation and focus on the positive stuff. There's so much good to focus on that, you know, especially in this time where everything is kind of still a little cuckoo, but at the same time, everything happens for a reason.
Keep watching this channel. This lady's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Life's become a bore. I need to get out, explore. I've been camp